Assalamu alaikum students. So it's our second lecture of business writing and presentation skills. In last class, we had a very general discussion on what is business writing, what are the ingredients of effective business writing, what mistakes to avoid, and what things should we include. So I hope you have gone through that lecture. So whoever watching this lecture, please comment your name and class ID in the comment section so that I would know who has attained this lecture and it will be easy for me to mark your attendance. So in today's class, we first will discuss some of the spelling rules and then we will move towards the grammar part or basic grammar rules. So the purpose behind this revision is to build a groundwork. Like ये जितने भी rules हैं या जितने भी principles हैं या आपने बहुत ज़्यादा elementary classes में या college level पे भी इसको like बहुत मर्तबा revise किया होगा. So, what is the purpose of this revision? Like, because this course is business writing and presentation skills, so we want you कि आपकी जो base है या आपकी जो foundation है वो strong हो ताकि जब हम proper writing start करें from next class or next to next class, then इसमें जो बिल्कुल basic errors हैं या basic principles हैं आप उनको follow करें. लाइक जब हम डिस्कस करेंगे डिफरेंट प्रिंसिपल्स तो आपको ऐसा फील होगा कि ये तो आपने लाइक अपनी इनिशियल क्लासेस में पहले ही आप इसको लर्न कर चुके हैं बट अगर आपको याद हो हमने लास्ट क्लास में कुछ कॉमन मिस्टेक्स डिस्कस की थी जो हम बिजनेस राइटिंग में करते हैं या एकेडमिक राइटिंग में करते हैं सो वो मिस्टेक्स यूजुअली इन्हीं प्रिंसिपल्स पे बेस्ड थी जिनको हम इग्नोर कर देते हैं सो आज हम इन प्रिंसिपल्स को इन रूल्स को दोबारा से रिकॉल करेंगे ताकि आपके माइंड में ये रिफ्रेश हो सके और जब हम राइटिंग स्टार्ट करें देन उसमें इस तरह की कॉमन मिस्टेक्स या बेसिक एरर्स हैं so I think we first should start with what the spelling actually is. So spelling we can say it is a set of words or it is the way we are writing. Spelling is very, very important. Before grammar, your spelling should be correct. Spelling is important because it helps us to read effectively. Like अगर कोई कंटेंट आप पढ़ रहे हैं या कोई राइटिंग आप पढ़ रहे हैं और उसमें स्पेलिंग एरर्स हैं तो आप उसको इफेक्टिवली रीड नहीं कर सकते जब आप रीड नहीं कर सकते तो आप उसको कंप्रिहेंड नहीं कर सकते और अगर कोई राइटर अपनी राइटिंग में स्पेलिंग एरर करता है इट मीन्स कि वो अपनी थॉट को या अपनी आइडिया को प्रॉपर वे में कन्वे नहीं कर सकता और कुछ वर्ड्स ऐसे हैं लाइक उसमें अगर आप एक सिंगल अल्फाबेट एरर करते हैं तो वो वर्ड के मीनिंग भी चेंज हो जाता है सो अगर आप स्पेलिंग एरर करेंगे देन यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू कन्वे योर एक्चुअल मैसेज सो इफ यू आर नॉट यूजिंग प्रॉपर like spelling or proper writing it will not give the reader a proper meaning besides it also give a bad impression about you because in academic writing आपकी इस तरह की mistakes to some extent negligible हो जाती हैं but in corporate world these types of like basic errors or these type of basic rules cannot be negligible and it like it must not be bearable so if the spelling is poor the reader will notice it before anything else it's the nature of the reader like मेरी nature भी ऐसी है जब मेरे पास assignments आते हैं आपके या एग्जाम पेपर्स आते हैं तो सबसे पहले जो मेरा फोकस है वो यही होता है कि आपने कोई स्पेलिंग एरर ना so you should be very concentrated you should be very focused on your spelling skills so let's just discuss some of the spelling rules and then हम इसको lecture को move करेंगे towards grammar rules. So the first principle is that we always use I before E except C. Like the basic principle is that we always use I before E and there are some exceptions. What is the basic rule? That we always use I. Like there are many words, many words in which we have I and E. So in that case, we always use I before E, like achieve, believe, brief, hygiene, brief. In that word, you can see that I is placed before E. But there are some exceptions, like there are some cases in which we cannot use I before E. So what are the exceptions? Like if the word has I and E with C. ठीक है? So in that case, we will use I after E. ठीक है? Like sealing, conceive, deceive, perceive. Like ये ऐसे common words हैं और sometimes हम उसमें spelling error कर भी लेते हैं और हम उसको identify नहीं कर पाते. ठीक है? Because we are very fluent कि I हम हमेशा ई से पहले यूज करते हैं बट कुछ ऐसे एक्सेप्शनल केसेस हैं जिसमें हम आई को यूज करते हैं आफ्टर ई सो दीज एक्सेप्शंस आर लाइक if we have C in the word like receive, perceive and receive. So in that case we will always use I after E. And there are some words that rhyme with A, not hey, it's a. H is silent. Like neighbor, freight, slave, wait. So in that case, we also use I after E. ठीक है? Basic rule हमने क्या discuss किया? That I always place before E. But there are some exceptions. अभी हम exceptions discuss करें. Like in case we have C, then we will place I after E. In case we have words that rhyme with A, then in that case we also place I after E. And there are some other exceptions, like we have words like either, neither, sees, weird. So in that case, we also use I after E. Okay? What was the basic rule? The basic rule was that we always place I after E. But इसके बाद हमने कुछ exception cases discuss किए. Like in case we have C, in case we have word that has uh, the sound A, and some exceptions like either, neither. So in that case, we will place I after E. ठीक है? Understand? So the next rule is a final Y changes to I when an ending is added. So first of all, हम यहाँ पे clear करते हैं what is ending. You must be aware that ending are the, like we can say that they are the suffix or the letters that we add after the words. Like it can be es, it can be ed, it can be ing, it can be ment. So there are various ending. ठीक है? So the rule is that we always change a final y to I when an ending is added. For example, there are various words or there are thousands of words that end with y, like supply, worry, marry. ठीक है? So अगर हम उसको उसमें ending add कर रहे हैं, like here we add es. So in that case we replace y with I. ठीक है? Here you can see that in the replaced word or in the converted word there is no y. ठीक है? But there are some exceptions, like when that ending is ing. Like यहाँ पे जो हमने ending discuss की वो थी es, ed and er. But if the ending is ing or if the suffix is ing, then in that case we will keep y. ठीक है? यहाँ पे you can see that the converted word also retain y, like cry, and we add the ending which is ing, study, and the ending is ing, and both words retain y. Another exception is that when the y is preceded with a vowel. Like if we have a word that ends with y and we have to add an ending in that word, but the y is preceded with a vowel. Like here you can see that the y is preceded with a vowel and the vowel is E. So in that case, we will also retain Y. Okay? So what was the rule? That a final Y is always changes to I when an ending is added. Okay? That was the basic rule. Here you can see that there is no I in the change word. But there were some exceptions, like we change or we keep or retain y if the ending is ing or if the ending or if the y is preceded with a vowel. ठीक है? So keep this rule in your mind, like a final y changes to I when an ending is added. अभी तो आपको ये rules जब आप अभी इसको लर्न करें तो आपको बहुत इजी लग रहे होंगे, इजी ही है एक्चुअली, पर जब आप इसको राइटिंग में, जब आप फ्लुएंटली कोई चीज राइट कर रहे होते हैं या कोई कंटेंट लिख रहे होते हैं, देन समटाइम्स आप इन कॉमन रूल्स में या बेसिक प्रिंसिपल्स में भी मिस्टेक कर लेते हैं। बट अगर आपके माइंड में ये रूल्स होंगे एक्सेप्शंस के साथ, देन आप कभी भी इस तरह की कॉमन मिस्टेक्स करेंगे। Another rule is that a silent E is dropped when an adding and ending that begins with a vowel. First of all, we have to understand what are the silent words. Like silent words are all those words that we don't pronounce. Like in this word, advance, the E is silent. So in all those words in which E is silent, we always drop when an ending is added. For example, the word is advance and we add ending in it and the ending is ing. So here you can see that in the changed word or the converted word there is no e. Okay? Advance was the actual word, and when we add an ending in the advance, it becomes advancing, and here you cannot find any e. So that was the basic rule or the basic principle. But like other rules and other principles, here are some exceptions. So what are the exceptions? Like we keep E or silent E when the ending begins with a consonant. So first of all, we have to understand what are the consonant. अगर हम इसको बहुत simply describe करें, then इस तरह से हम इसको explain कर सकते हैं that in English language there are 26 alphabets or 26 letters, in which 6 are vowels and the remaining alphabets are called consonant. ठीक है? Like B, W, N, M, P. But some of the English experts say that the difference is not between the alphabet but it between the sound. Like अगर हम इसको और थोड़ा डिटेल में डिस्क्राइब करें या comprehend करें, then consonant are all those words that we cannot pronounce it without touching our mouth or throat, like B and N. Like we cannot pronounce N without using our tongue. We cannot pronounce B without touching our lips. So all these letters and all these alphabets are called consonant that are other than vowel. So what the exception is saying, that if a word keep and silent E, but if the ending begin with the consonant. So what is the actual word is advance and the ending or the ending is ment and it begins with a consonant. Like M is a consonant alphabet. So in that case, we will retain silent. Another example is like. ठीक है? In like, E is again silent. Likeness, the ending is or the suffix starts with a consonant and the consonant is N. So in that case, we keep or we retain silent E. Another exception is unless the E is preceded with a vowel. For example, like here, we have a word argue. Okay? So in argue, you can see that E is silent. So if we have to add an ending in this word, or for example, the ending is ment, argument, but here we have to identify or here we have to notice if the silent E is preceded with a vowel or not. Like here, the silent E is preceded with a consonant. C. Here the silent E is preceded with a consonant. But in this word, the silent E is preceded with the vowel and the vowel is U. So in that case, we will drop silent E. ठीक है? Like the argument in the spelling of argument, you cannot find silent E. In the spelling of truly, you cannot find silent E. So दोबारा से इसको रिवाइज करते हैं. The actual rule is a silent E is dropped when an adding and ending that begins with a vowel. Like whenever the ending is a start with a vowel, we will drop silent E. In case the ending begins with a consonant, we will retain silent E. But in that case, first we will identify if the silent E is preceded with a vowel or not. If not, then we will retain silent E. And if yes, then we will again drop silent E. Okay. Another rule is that then adding a prefix seldom changes the spelling of a word. Yes, like we discussed that prefixes and suffixes. Prefixes are those uh, group of letters like they always add before the word. And इसकी characteristic ये है that they always change or modify the meaning of the word, or sometimes they show repetition. But suffixes, like those letters that we add at the ending of a word, that not always change the meaning of a word, but sometimes they convert the word from in terms of tense. So prefixes are all those letters that we add before the word, and they usually change or modify the meaning of a word. For example, spell is the actual word, and if we add a prefix which is miss, it will become misspelled. On the other hand, its meaning also convert from positive to negative. Necessary, if we add a prefix which is un, it will become unnecessary, and also the spelling and the meaning of a word change. Satisfied, if we add a prefix, it will become dissatisfied, and the meaning of a word change from positive to negative. Same is the case with the disinterested and misinformed. So whenever we use a prefix, be very careful in the selection of a prefix because it has the capability to change the meaning or modify the meaning of a word. So another rule is that we form plurals in English by adding s or es. So I know कि ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा बेसिक रूल है जो शायद आपने फर्स्ट या सेकंड क्लास में स्टडी किया हो. But here the actual story is like we always make plural from by adding s or es, like shoes, Porsches, boxes, bushes. But if the word ends with y, then in that case we will change y to I, and that we will add ENS. Like in case of a company ends with y. So in case of y, we will change y with I, and then we will add E and ES. But the actual trick is that if the word is a pronoun, so what is sorry, proper noun. So what is a proper noun? Proper noun is any word that we use to describe the noun, or it is the specific name of a thing or a place or a person. For example, man is a noun, and if we give a specific name to a man like Kennedy, then it will become a proper noun. But so what we are discussing, like in case of a proper noun, and if a proper noun starts with ends with y, so in that case we will not change y to I, we only add s to make it plural. Like here you can see that Kennedy is a proper noun. So if we have to like change this singular noun into a plural noun, we will only add s. We will not convert I into I, and that we will not add es. But the company is a noun. So in that case, we will change y to I. and then we will add es. ठीक है, इसी तरह फॉर एग्जांपल अगर किसी स्टूडेंट का नाम है, या आप इसमें बहुत सारे वर्ड्स यूज कर सकते हैं. यू कैन यूज hundreds of words or thousands of words that ends with y and they are proper noun. So in that case, if you have to change it into a plural word, so you will retain y and you will only add s to make it plural. Yes, the most interesting spelling rule is here to read. For example, the rule is when adding an ending to a word that ends in a consonant, we double that consonant when the ending begins with a vowel and the last syllable of a word is accented, and that syllable ends in a single vowel followed by a single consonant. So yes, I can understand that you didn't get it because it's quite tricky and quite mouthful and quite mindful. So हम इसको understand करने के लिए पहले इस rule को break करेंगे into sub rules और इसको discuss करेंगे with different example so that you can clearly understand what this rule is actually saying. For example, like for your convenience, I have added that rule at the top of the slide ताकि आप उसको relate कर लें with the example. For example, the word is admit. ठीक है, हम इसको discuss कर रहे हैं. So admit is accented on the last syllable. First of all, we have to understand what the syllable actually is. So for in a comprehensive language, we can say that syllable are all those words that contain a vowel. ठीक है, हर उस word को हम syllable कहते हैं जिसमें vowel include होता है. For example, book, read, these are the syllable words. ठीक है, और कुछ words आपके single syllable होते हैं, कुछ double syllable होते हैं. सिंगल सिलेबल वो वर्ड्स होते हैं जिसमें एक ही ववल यूज होता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल बुक, हम ये नहीं कहेंगे कि बुक में डबल ओ है तो ये डबल सिलेबल वर्ड्स है, बट सिंगल ओ ववल यूज हुआ है देन हम उसको सिंगल सिलेबल वर्ड्स कहेंगे. कुछ वर्ड्स ऐसे होते हैं जिसमें हमारे पास मल्टीपल ववल्स होते हैं, लाइक रीड, लाइक हैडिंग, लाइक बहुत सारे वर्ड्स हैं जिनमें डबल सिलेबल यूज हुए हैं. सो उनको हम double syllable words या multiple syllable words भी कहते हैं. So what the actually syllable is that any word that contain a vowel, it will become a syllable. So admit is accented on the last syllable and the final consonant is preceded by a vowel. So we double the T before adding. Like here you can see the actual word is admit. Okay? And admit is accented on the last syllable. Like here you can like pronounce with me admit. So admit is accented on the last syllable. Admit. So, and the final consonant is preceded with a verb. What is the final consonant? The final consonant in this word is T and it is preceded with a vowel. So we double the T before adding an ending. For instance, ing or ed. अब इसको थोड़ा clearly हम understand करते हैं. हर वो word जो किसी consonant पे add हो रहा हो और हम उसको accent कर रहे हो with the last syllable. First, we have to identify if the word contain a syllable or not. If yes, then we have to further identify if the word is accented with the last syllable. Like here, the word admit is accented with the last syllable and the last consonant is preceded with a vowel. Whenever there is any word that ends with a consonant and preceded with a vowel, so in that case, if we have to add any ending, so यहाँ पे ending क्या है? ed. ठीक है, ending can be ing, ending can be er, ending can be es, ending can be ment. So there are multiple endings. So in this word here you can see that the last word is consonant and the consonant is preceded with a vowel. So if we have to add ending in that word, we will double the last consonant. For example, admit will become admitted. अब जरूरी नहीं है कि आपने जो सफिक्स यूज किया वो ed ही हो. अगर आप ing भी यूज कर रहे हैं तो in that case we also or we again double that consonant and it will become admitted. Admitted. ठीक है. So first हमें क्या identify करना है? If the word is ends with a consonant or if the consonant is preceded with a vowel. So in that case अगर हमें उस word में suffix use करना हो या ending use करनी हो then we will double that last consonant. ठीक है. So admit become admitted or admitting. हम उसमें डबल कॉन्सोनेंट यूज करेंगे या डबल टी यूज करेंगे. क्लियर? सो स्टूडेंट्स, अगर आपको कोई भी कंफ्यूजन हो तो हमने जो व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप फॉर्म किया है वहां पे आप मुझसे कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं या कम्युनिकेट कर सकते हैं. सो अनदर रूल इज दैट इट इज सेम इज द केस लाइक जो अभी हमने डिस्कस किया एडमिट. ठीक है. सो यहाँ पे आप फोकस करें. सो द रूल इज दैट flap. The word is flap and it contains only one syllable. ठीक है. What is this syllable? A. A is this syllable or A is the noun. For that we call it a syllable word. So in this word, here you can see that the last word is a consonant P. ठीक है. And the consonant is preceded with a vowel. ठीक है. Same is the case जो हमने admit में डिस्कस किया. The last word is consonant and this consonant is preceded with a vowel. So in that case, if we have to add an ending in that word, then like this ending can be ed or the ending can be ing. So the ending is basically should be like should be tailored with the word or should be aligned with the word. Like हम flat के साथ MENT suffix use नहीं कर सकते. ठीक है. फ्लैपमेंट यूज नहीं कर सकते. इट मे बी ईडी और आईएनजी. सो अगेन जिस तरह से हमने एडमिट में लास्ट कॉन्सोनेंट को डबल कर दिया था, बिल्कुल इसी तरह से हम जब हम इसको कन्वर्ट करेंगे विद एन एंडिंग देन वी विल डबल दैट वर्ड एंड इट विल बिकम फ्लैप. ठीक है. वी विल यूज डबल कॉन्सोनेंट डबल टी. ठीक है. और अगर हम ing एंडिंग यूज करते हैं सो अगेन वी विल डबल द लास्ट कॉन्सोनेंट. सो दिस रूल इज quite different. So here you can see that we have double consonant. ठीक है. If we have more than one syllable in the word then उस word को हम double consonant भी कह सकते हैं. So here we have multiple syllable like O, U, and E. ठीक है. So in that case, what we will do? In that case, we have to identify either the word is accented with the first syllable or the last syllable. For example, council contains two syllables and the final consonant is preceded with a vowel. ठीक है. Final consonant and it is preceded with a vowel. So अगर जो हमने दो रूल डिस्कस किए इससे पहले हमें सिंपली क्या करना चाहिए था कि हमें लास्ट कॉन्सोनेंट को डबल कर देना चाहिए. बट चूंकि इस वर्ड में डबल कॉन्सोनेंट है तो हमें पहले ये आइडेंटिफाई करना है कि इफ द वर्ड इज एक्सेंटेड ऑन द फर्स्ट syllable. So if the word is accented on the first syllable, like council, we pronounce that word or we accent that word with first syllable. So in that case, we will not double that consonant. Okay? Before adding an ending. For example, this word is ends with a consonant and the consonant is preceded with a vowel. So सबसे पहले तो हमने जो रूल डिस्कस किया उसमें हमें सिंपली क्या किया था हमने कि कॉन्सोनेंट को डबल कर दिया था. बट हियर यू कैन सी दैट वी हैव डबल syllable. So if we have double syllable in the word, then first we have to identify either the word is accented on the first syllable or the last syllable. So if the word is accented on the first syllable, then we will not double that consonant or we keep it as a single consonant. Like council was the original word, then we add an ending, it will become counseling. ठीक है, और यहाँ पे हमने इस कॉन्सोनेंट को डबल नहीं किया. सो अगर ये वर्ड हम लास्ट लेवल पे प्रोनाउंस करते हैं या एक्सेंट करते हैं तो हम लास्ट कॉन्सोनेंट को डबल कर देते हैं. Another rule is that like begin is a word, ठीक है, that contains two syllables. जिस तरह से काउंसिल में हमारे पास टू सिलेबल थे, सेम इन दिस केस वी हैव टू सिलेबल इन दिस वर्ड ई एंड आर. ठीक है, सो अगर हमारे पास ऐसी सिचुएशन हो कि हमारे वर्ड में दो सिलेबल हो तो हमें फर्स्ट ये आइडेंटिफाई करना है कि ईदर इस वर्ड इज एक्सेंटेड ऑन द फर्स्ट सिलेबल और द लास्ट सिलेबल. सो बिगिन कंटेन्स टू सिलेबल एंड द फाइनल कॉन्सोनेंट इज प्रीसीडेड विद अ वोवेल. लाइक इस सेकंड कंडीशन को भी fulfill कर रहा है, which was that the last consonant should be preceded with a vowel, but the word is accented on the last level. Begin, begin को हम किस तरह accent करते हैं, हमेशा last level. So in that case we will double the consonant before adding an ending. ठीक है, यहाँ पे भी हमने जो last consonant था उसको double कर दिया and it become begin. ठीक है, फर्स्ट अगर हमारे पास डबल सिलेबल वर्ड हो तो हमको ये आइडेंटिफाई करना है ईदर दैट सिलेबल इज दिस वर्ड इज एक्सेंटेड ऑन द फर्स्ट सिलेबल और द लास्ट सिलेबल. सो इफ द वर्ड इज एक्सेंटेड ऑन द लास्ट सिलेबल देन वी विल डबल दैट कॉन्सोनेंट, बट इफ द वर्ड इज एक्सेंटेड ऑन द फर्स्ट सिलेबल देन वी विल we won't double that consonant. Like it's like a tongue twister. So it's quite mindful. So इसकी आपको प्रैक्टिस करनी होगी, तो आपके लिए बहुत ज़्यादा comprehensive हो जाएगा या बहुत ज़्यादा understandable हो जाएगा. So again we have another word and it is despair. So here you can also see that we have double consonant E and A and R. And the last consonant is also preceded with a vowel. ठीक है, but here you can see, अच्छा यहाँ पे एक difference क्या है, that the last word or the last consonant is preceded with a double vowel. ठीक है, इससे पहले हमने जितने words discuss किए थे, in that the last consonant was preceded with a single vowel. Here you can see that the last consonant, but this was preceded with a single vowel. But in this word, the last word is preceded with a double vowel. So in that case, we don't double that final consonant when we add an ending. Like despair, हमने ending add की which is ed. So why we don't double that consonant? Because this consonant was preceded with a double syllable or a double vowel. Okay, so despair will become despair, and here you can see that it has a single consonant, not a double consonant. So these were some of the spelling rules that you have to practice. So if you want to become a spell master or if you want to proficient in this skill, it will require your dedication or your uh, like undivided attention. If you practice it, you will become an effective or you will become a best speller. आप practice करें इसको, different अपनी vocabulary को extend करें, different books read करें, आपको इंटरनेट पे different vocabulary की worksheets मिल जाएंगी, online quizzes मिल जाएंगे जिसको आप attempt करके अपनी spelling skill को enhance कर सकते हैं. Always remember that जो भी हम रूल डिस्कस करेंगे या जो भी हम प्रिंसिपल्स डिस्कस करेंगे, the writing is not limited to only the principle that we are discussing or we will discuss. ठीक है, you have to discover yourself. You have to find out कि जो चीजें हमने डिस्कस नहीं की. Like in 120 minutes lecture, we cannot cover all these spelling rules. But yes, we covered द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट रूल्स। और इसके बाद हम जो आपकी सपोर्टिंग मटेरियल के थ्रू लाइक जो स्लाइड्स हम शेयर करेंगे या जो असाइनमेंट्स आपके साथ शेयर करेंगे, यू कैन पॉलिश योर स्पेलिंग स्किल। ठीक है, सो अपने आप को बिल्कुल भी लिमिट नहीं रखे कि जो हम कंटेंट आपसे डिस्कस करें। जो हम मैंने आपको रिकमेंडेड बुक्स डिस्कस की थी, जो कल ग्रुप में भी हमारी डिस्कशन हुई थी, वो बुक्स परचेज करें, वो बुक्स पढ़ें। इंटरनेट पे आपके पास एक एक ह्यूज, आपके पास एक मैसिव प्लेटफॉर्म है जहाँ पे आप अपनी इन स्किल्स को पॉलिश कर सकते हैं। ठीक है, so in that in this 4 months, we will give you an open platform to polish your spelling skills, to polish your grammar skills, or to polish your business writing skills. So, yes, I know that these spelling and grammar mistakes or the grammar principles are cumbersome for us because we are not a native speaker or a writer. But with the practice, we can proficient in it, or we can become an effective academic writer as well as business writer. So let's move towards the grammar rules. Like these are some of the grammar rules that will help you to avoid any mistakes. So these are very basic and fundamental rules जिसको हम पहले discuss करेंगे ताकि आपकी foundation strong हो जाए. And in coming class, inshallah, we will discuss punctuation, we will discuss the remaining grammar part, and we will learn how can we make effective sentences and effective paragraphs. So the first rule is that a sentence starts with a capital letter and ends with a period, full stop, and a question mark. Yes, this is very basic rule, but बहुत सारे students in basic rule में mistakes करते हैं, especially जो question mark sentences होते हैं या जो interrogative sentences होते हैं, उसमें question mark include करना necessary है, unless it will lose its interrogative nature. Okay, so first you have to understand whether you are writing an interrogative sentence, whether you are writing an affirmative sentence, or whether you are writing any exclamation sentence. So the first um, letter of a word or the sentence should be in capital, and thanks to the computer technology जो वहाँ पे आपको like push कर देती है कि आप कोई आपने अगर इस तरह की पंक्चुएशन एरर की, ठीक है, बट इफ यू आर राइटिंग विद योर हैंड, सो आपको फिर इन छोटे छोटी रूल्स का, इन छोटे छोटे रूल्स का बहुत ज़्यादा फोकस करना होगा. So the first rule that we discussed, that we have to add a capital letter, and then the sentence should be end with a full stop or a question mark or an exclamation mark. The other rule is that, or the second rule is that the order of a basic positive sentence is subject, verb, and object. Negative and question sentences may have a different order. So first we have to understand what the sentence actually is. Sentence is basically the combination of words that we order in sequence to deliver any thought or to deliver any idea. So a complete sentence has three ingredients: subject, verb, and an object. Sometimes we combine verb and object as predicate. Okay? Sometimes we use only subject and verb and we omit object. In that case, it will become an incomplete sentence, जिसको हम fragment sentence भी कहते हैं. But usually that fragment sentence can also convey the meaning. Like in informal spoken English, that is okay. But in writing or in writing assignments or in writing any content, you should or you always must use complete sentence. So a complete sentence would have a subject and a verb and an object. Okay? What is a subject? Subject is basically the person or thing that is the center of attention of the overall sentence. Verb is the action, and object is the thing that tells the reader about the subject. सो बेसिक सीक्वेंस या ऑर्डर क्या होता है किसी भी सेंटेंस का, दैट वी फर्स्ट ऐड subject, then we will add a verb, and then we will add an object. ठीक है, for example, John loves Mary. First we add subject, then verb, and then object. Here, they were driving their car to Bangkok. First subject, they, then verb, and then object. ठीक है, but business writing sentences or the academic writing sentences are not that simple. They are very complex and they composed of many sentences and many subjects and verbs. But the actual sequence of the sentence will be same, like subject, verb, and object. Another rule is that every sentence must have a subject and a verb, and object is optional. जो अभी हमने discuss किया. So note that an imperative sentence may have a verb only, but the subject is understood. Like as we discussed that in sentence, subject and verb is essential or compulsory. But there are imperative sentences. Imperative sentences are those sentences that you use to give orders or suggestions or complaint. So in that case, you can also use a single verb without any subject or object. But the subject is understood. Like John teaches. Stop. So here you can see that we didn't use any subject or object, but the situation is understood. Stop. किसको कह रहे हैं? We understood the subject. कि हमें कहा जा रहा है कि stop हो जाओ. John teaches English. ठीक है? So these are the sentences. Like first sentence contains subject and verb. The second sentence is also contain subject and verb, and the last sentence only contain verb, but the subject is understood. So another rule is that the subject and verb must agree in number. That is, a singular subject means a singular verb and a plural subject must means a plural verb. Yes, for example, if you have a plural verb in your sentence, then you will use plural verb. And you should be very mindful in using plural and singular verb क्योंकि बहुत सारे students इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा mistakes करते हैं. Like when you use John and Mary, it will become a plural subject. Okay, so in that case, you will not use a singular verb. Like you cannot use John and Mary works in England. Works is a singular word. You will not use works, or you cannot use works with a plural subject. Okay, so in case of plural subject, you will use plural verb, and the plural verb is work. So in case of singular subject, like John is the singular subject, you will use singular verb, and the singular verb is works. Like you cannot use John work in London. You have to use John works in London. So you have to agree in the number of your subject and verb. Like if you are using a singular verb, then you will use singular subject, and if you are using plural subject, then you will use plural verb. Another rule is that when two singular subjects are connected by or, use a singular verb. The same is true for either and neither. Like whenever we use or within two subjects, it will become John or Mary is coming tonight. Like John, either John or either Mary is coming tonight. So in that case, it again become a singular subject. So that's why we will use singular verb in the sentence. Like John or Mary. अगर ये and होता, then हम क्या use करते? Are. John and Mary are coming tonight. But these singular verb are connected with or, so it means that either John or either Mary. So in that case, we will use singular verb, which is. Remember, are is a plural verb and is a singular verb. Another rule is that adjective usually come before a noun. So first we have to recall what the adjective actually is. Adjectives are the words that describe noun, or we can say that they are the attributes, or they modifies noun, or they describe noun, and they make your writing more specific. Okay? For example, so the rule is that adjective usually come before noun. जब भी हम adjective अपने sentence में use करेंगे, so हम उसको हमेशा noun से पहले place करेंगे. But there is an exception, like except when a verb separates the adjective from the noun. So in first case, here you can see I have a big dog. Big is an adjective and we use big before noun, which is dog. But here you can see this is the example of an exception, like her husband is rich. So by the rule, we have to place adjective before verb. But if the verb separates the adjective and the noun, then we will use adjective before noun. Like rich is an adjective, but if we have to add, or if the verb separates noun and adjective, so in that case we will place adjective before noun, and noun is the husband. Another rule is that when using two or more adjectives together, the usual order is opinion adjective and then fact adjective. There are two types of adjective. Like first is the opinion of the adjective, and the second is the fact objective adjective. So for example, अगर आप अपने sentence में डबल एडजेक्टिव यूज कर रहे हैं जिसमें आपके पास ओपिनियन ऑफ एडजेक्टिव भी है और फैक्ट एडजेक्टिव भी है, सो इन दैट केस आप पहले ओपिनियन एडजेक्टिव डिस्कस करेंगे और फिर आप फैक्ट एडजेक्टिव प्लेस करेंगे या डिस्कस करेंगे. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, I saw a nice French table. ठीक है. So here you can see we have double adjective, nice and French. So nice is the opinion adjective. Like this table can be nice for me, but it's not necessary that it is nice for you as well. So it's my opinion. But French is a fact. Like the table will be French for me and for you and for all others. So in that in a case that in which we have double adjective, we always place opinion adjective before fact adjective. ठीक है? Like we will not say that I saw a French nice table. We will say I saw a nice French table. ठीक है? That was an interesting Shakespearean play. Like this play is interesting for me, but it doesn't mean that it will be interesting for you as well. But Shakespearean play will be Shakespearean play. Either I'm watching, either you are watching. Okay? So we cannot say that that was an Shakespearean interesting play. We will always say that was an interesting Shakespearean play. Then another rule, treat collective noun as singular or plural. Like in British English, collective noun is usually treated as plural, meaning a plural verb. In American English, collective noun is often treated as singular. First, we understand that what are the collective noun. Collective noun are basically the combination of things, the combination of person, or the combination of places. So we have two choices, either British English or either American English. So अगर हम British English के rules को follow कर रहे हैं, then collective noun को हम treat करेंगे as plural, और plural noun के साथ जैसा अभी हमने discuss किया, हम plural word use करते हैं. But अगर हम American English के format को follow कर रहे हैं, then हम collective noun को treat करेंगे as singular और उसके लिए singular verb and pronoun use करेंगे. So if we are following British English, तो British English के सिर्फ इस rule को follow नहीं करना, but British English के कुछ specific rules हैं जिनको हमें business writing में follow करना होगा. Like in British English, The collective noun is usually treated as plural. Now, here you can see that the committee are having sandwiches for lunch. They will go to London. Like they have used plural noun, plural word, and plural subject. So in American English, my family likes going to the zoo. They have used collective noun with plural, sorry, singular. So as we are using or as we are following American English, so in that case we will treat collective noun as singular and we will use singular verb. Like it is the collective noun, CNN has changed its verb, and we will use singular verb and singular pronoun for it. Another rule is that the word its and its are two different words. If you remember, हमने लास्ट क्लास में कॉमन मिस्टेक्स डिस्कस की थी, जिसमें हमने इन मिस्टेक्स को डिस्कस किया था. लाइक अभी तो आपको ऐसा लग रहा होगा कि ये बहुत ज्यादा बेसिक प्रिंसिपल है, ये तो ऐसे हैं कि हम शायद एक मरतबा अगर इसको डिस्कस करें तो ये हमारे माइंड में लाइक बिल्ड हो जाएंगे या फिट हो जाएंगे, बट इट्स नॉट द केस. बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स और बहुत सारे नॉट ओनली स्टूडेंट्स बट यू कैन ऑल्सो identify this mistake in professional business. So you have to understand what is the difference between its and its. Like its with apostrophe has different meaning and its its has different meaning. So if you are using its with apostrophe, that it's simply meaning that it is the contraction of it and is. जिसको contract करने के लिए आपने apostrophe use किया. But if you are using its, that it will have a different meaning. Like it is a possession form of pronoun. So अगर आप इतनी simple mistake करेंगे, like अगर आपने apostrophe use नहीं किया और आपकी जो attention थी वो contraction word की थी, so it will change the whole meaning of the sentence. So understand its with apostrophe is a contraction of the word it and is. Its without apostrophe is using for like possession, is for using for possession. Again, the word your and your are two different words with different meaning. Like your with apostrophe. You can understand this logic. Your with apostrophe is a contraction word of you and are, but your without apostrophe is a second person possession that is described, like that is used to describe something that is belonging to you. Like what's your name? हम ये नहीं कहेंगे. For example, if I'm writing what's your name or send your email address, so in that case I will not use this word with apostrophe. I will use your without apostrophe. ठीक है? So whenever we see a word with apostrophe, it means that it is a contraction of two words. So again, the words there, and there are the different meanings with different. They are different words with different meanings. Like pronunciation, तो सबकी एक ही तरह है there and there, but इनके meanings different है. Like there with e is simply is the opposite of here. ठीक है, here there, like there mean at that place, but there with I means belongs to them. Like I saw their new car. मैंने उसकी एक न्यू कार देखी. It means that it is belongs to them. But there with apostrophe means they are. It means that it is the contraction of two words, and these two words are they and are. Similarly, the contraction he's can we mean he is or he has. Similarly, she is can mean she is or she has. It can mean it is and it has. So, what is the main difference in all these words? The difference is like exist with or without apostrophe. But I will suggest you कि अगर ऐसे meanings हो जिसको आप contract करें apostrophe से, so be very meaningful or be very careful वरना आप इसको ब्रेक करके अगर राइट करें तो वो ज़्यादा लाइक अंडरस्टैंडेबल होगा या कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव होगा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर मैं ही इज़ वर्किंग, so someone can get the meaning that she like he has working. So for to avoid any confusion, it's better to use separate words instead of contracted words. Another condition is that the contraction he can mean he had or he would. Similarly, they can mean they had or they would. ठीक है? So इस तरह से हम इसको as separate words भी use कर सकते हैं in sentence, or we can use as contracted words as well. Another word is that Another rule is that we spell a proper noun with an initial capital letter. A proper noun is a name of something. For example, Joseph, Mary, जैसे अभी हमने discuss किया था. When we give a specific name to a person, when we give a specific name to a place or a thing, it becomes a proper noun. For example, when we use proper noun in a sentence like Joseph, Mary, China, we will use a capital letter. Either it is the end of the sentence, or either it is the middle of the sentence, or either it is at the beginning of the sentence. Like we have written to Mary. Here you can see that the Mary is written with a capital letter ताकि उसको prominent किया जा सके that it is a proper noun. Is China in Asia? Asia is a proper noun, so that's why we have used a capital letter to prominent it. Another rule is that we spell proper adjective with an initial capital letter. Proper adjective, like अभी हमने adjectives discuss किए और proper noun discuss किए, but we didn't discuss proper adjective. Proper adjective are basically derived from proper noun. Like अगर हम proper noun को इस तरह से tailor करें, like Germany is a proper noun, but German is a proper adjective. ठीक है? Mishavli is a proper noun, but Mishavian is a proper adjective. So in case of proper adjective, in case of proper noun, we always use capital letter. Like London is an English town. English is a proper adjective. Who is the Canadian Prime Minister? So Canadian is the proper adjective. So in that case, we will all only use capital letter for proper adjective, not for proper noun. ऐसा नहीं है कि हम Prime Minister में भी capital letter use करें और Canadian में भी. We will only use capital, initial capital for proper adjective. And if we have only proper noun, then we will use initial capital letter for proper noun. But if we have proper adjective, then we'll use initial capital for proper noun. Another rule is that we use the indefinite article for countable noun in general and use the definite article for the specific countable noun. Like for specific countable noun, we will always use the article. Like the bird was blue. Okay? Bird is a general word or a countable noun. So we didn't place a or n with the blue bird. Okay? We use the bird was blue and the balloon was yellow. But in case we have a general word or a countable noun in general, so in that case we will use indefinite article. Definite article is the, and indefinite article are n or a. So I saw a bird and a balloon in the sky. But अगर आप इसको specify कर देंगे कि bird का color क्या था या bird कौन सा था, then we will use the. ठीक है? Like he always saves money. Like he always saves some of the money that he earns. So you should be very specific and you should be very mindful when you are using articles Either they are indefinite or definite. Definite article are using with a specific noun, and indefinite articles we use for with general noun, or the words that sounds with vowel, or the would use the words like sounds with consonant. Another rule is that we use indefinite article a with words beginning with a consonant sound. ठीक है? We always use indefinite article a with consonant sound, जो बहुत ही ज़्यादा basic rule है. And we use the indefinite article in with words begin with a vowel sound, like a cat, ugly, a humor, an endeavor. ठीक है? So ये बहुत ज़्यादा basic rules थे जो हमने आज discuss किए, especially the rules that were related with articles. So we have left with two rules. Yes, three rules. इसको भी discuss कर लेते हैं. Use many or few with countable nouns, and we will use much, a lot, or little for uncountable nouns. ठीक है? So countable nouns are those nouns that can be counted or that are specific. Uncountable nouns are those nouns that cannot be counted or they present in general. So in case of countable noun, we usually use the word few, but in case of uncountable noun, we use the word much or a lot. Like, how many dollars do you have? ठीक है? How much money do you have? You have to differentiate between countable noun and uncountable noun. Another rule is that to show possession, who is the owner of something, use apostrophe. So what are the apostrophe? Apostrophe, अगर आपको याद होगा, हमने last class में discuss किया था that when to use apostrophe. So usually apostrophe is used जब हमें possession show करनी होती है, ठीक है? So the possession can be singular or can be plural. Like the owner can be single or the owner can be multiple. So apostrophe हम तब यूज करेंगे जब हमें possession शो करनी हो, बट इसमें फिर दो कंडीशंस हैं, लाइक singular owner or plural owner. ठीक है? So in case of singular owner, we will use apostrophe before s, like the boy's dog. It means that the possession is owned by a singular owner or a single person. But if I use apostrophe after s, okay, here you can see in first phrase, the apostrophe is used. Excuse me. The apostrophe is used before s. Okay, so it means or it shows the singular possession. But in the second phrase, the apostrophe is used after s. It means that there are multiple owners. Okay? So apostrophe is used when we have to show possession, or further we can bifurcate it in terms of the number of owners. Like if we have singular owner, we will use apostrophe before s, and in case of plural owners or plural possession, we will use apostrophe after s. The last rule is that in general use the active voice in preferences to passive voice. It's not specific to academic writing, but we always prefer active voice over passive voice. Okay? So in any content, whether it is the piece of academic writing or whether you are writing for the business purpose, always use active voice, not passive voice. ठीक है? So it's your assignment, not your assignment. Assignment तो मैं आपको separately दूंगी in the group. It's your task कि आप दोबारा से revise करें एक्टिव वॉइस और पैसिव वॉइस जो आपने लर्न किए थे इन स्कूल और इन कॉलेज, उसको दोबारा से रिवाइज करें. आई विल शेयर सम प्रैक्टिस मटेरियल इन द ग्रुप जिसमें आपको डिफरेंट पैराग्राफ को कन्वर्ट करना होगा इनटू एक्टिव वॉइस फ्रॉम पैसिव वॉइस. ऑलवेज रिमेंबर दैट एकेडमिक राइटिंग में या बिजनेस राइटिंग में हम हमेशा एक्टिव वॉइस करते हैं, एक्टिव वॉइस यूज करते हैं इंस्टेड ऑफ पैसिव वॉइस। सो आई होप जितने भी हमने आज रूल्स डिस्कस किए इन टर्म्स ऑफ स्पेलिंग रूल्स और इन टर्म्स ऑफ ग्रामर रूल्स, आपको वो अच्छी तरह से आपने उसको अंडरस्टैंड किया होगा या फोकस किया होगा। बट ये आपकी स्पेलिंग स्किल या आपकी ग्रामर स्किल उस वक्त तक स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं होगी जब तक आप इसको प्रैक्टिस नहीं करेंगे। लाइक अगर अभी आपको ऐसा लग रहा होगा कि ये लेक्चर ही आपके लिए काफी है और आप जो है आप इससे रिलेटेड कोई भी मिस्टेक्स नहीं कर सकते, बट इफ आई गिव यू एन असाइनमेंट एट द मोमेंट और गिव यू एनी टेस्ट और क्विज, तो उसमें भी आपकी मिस्टेक होंगी। सो ओनली प्रैक्टिस विल मेक यू परफेक्ट और प्रोफिशिएंट इन बिजनेस राइटिंग और एनी एकेडमिक राइटिंग। अभी तो हमारी बहुत ज़्यादा इनिशियल क्लासेस हैं, तो हम इस पर फोकस कर रहे हैं। जब हमारी प्रॉपर राइटिंग की क्लासेस स्टार्ट होंगी, देन हम इन रूल्स को या इन प्रिंसिपल्स को दोबारा रिपीट नहीं करेंगे। उस वक्त हमारा जो फोकस होगा वो फ्लुएंट राइटिंग पे होगा, या फिर जो स्पेसिफिक फॉर्मेट्स हम डिस्कस करेंगे, लाइक लेटर राइटिंग है या आपकी मेमोरेंडम राइटिंग है, रिपोर्ट्स राइटिंग है। फिर हमारे कोर्स का एक बिल्कुल हाफ पार्ट जो है वो डेडिकेटेड है फॉर प्रेजेंटेशन स्किल्स, जो इंशाल्लाह जब हमारी फिजिकल क्लासेस होंगी उसमें हम कवर करेंगे। सो आपको मेरे साथ साथ चलना, लाइक जो भी हमने आज कंटेंट डिस्कस किया उससे रिलेटेड जो सपोर्टिंग मटेरियल है और जो स्लाइड्स है वो तो मैं आज ही ग्रुप में शेयर कर दूंगी। और जो असाइनमेंट है, यू आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल टू सबमिट योर असाइनमेंट एट द स्पेसिफाइड डेट। लाइक जो भी मैं असाइनमेंट आपको शेयर करूँ और जो भी मैं आपको डेट जो है वो अलॉट करूँ जिस पे आपको असाइनमेंट सबमिट करना हो, आपको उसी डेट पे असाइनमेंट सबमिट करना होगा, बिकॉज फॉर द नेक्स्ट वीक यू हैव अनदर असाइनमेंट। सो अगर आप पाइल अप करते रहे हो और डेडलाइंस को आपने मीट नहीं किया, इट विल बी कम्बरसम फॉर यू टू कवर all the course or all the learning material or to even pass your exam. So in the class हमने ये रूल्स डिस्कस किए। ग्रुप में मैं असाइनमेंट्स के साथ कुछ ऑनलाइन क्विज़ेस के लिंक्स शेयर करूँगी, ठीक है। ऑनलाइन क्विज़ेस के लिंक्स होंगे, वहाँ पे आप अपनी स्पेलिंग, ग्रामर और पंक्चुएशन चेक कर सकते हैं। वो क्विज़ेस आपको अटेम्प्ट करने होंगे। इट विल हार्डली टेक योर 10 to 15 मिनट्स, नॉट 15, 10 मिनट्स में हो जाएगा कंप्लीट। सो जितने भी क्लास में स्टूडेंट्स हैं, लाइक अगर 20 स्टूडेंट्स हैं, 18 स्टूडेंट्स हैं, सबको उस क्विज को अटेम्प्ट करना है। और जब अटेम्प्ट आप कर लेंगे, अच्छी बात यह है ऑनलाइन क्विजेस की कि आपको वो रिजल्ट भी उसी वक्त प्रोवाइड कर देते हैं और ये भी इंडिकेट कर देते हैं कि आपने कहाँ जो है वो मिस्टेक की है, ताकि आप उस स्पेसिफिक लाइक पार्ट को और ज़्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग कर सकें, ठीक है। सो जब जैसे ही आप उस क्विज को अटेम्प्ट करेंगे और उसको क्लियर करेंगे, एक स्क्रीनशॉट आप क्लास में शेयर करेंगे। हर स्टूडेंट अपना सेपरेट स्क्रीनशॉट शेयर करेगा कि उन्होंने इस क्विज को अटेम्प्ट कर लिया है। उसकी जो स्पेसिफिक डेडलाइन होगी वो मैं ग्रुप में ही मेंशन कर दूंगी। इस तरह से 2 या 3 मैं ऑनलाइन क्विजेस के लिंक्स आपसे शेयर करूंगी। बट आई विल सजेस्ट यू कि बिफोर आप उन क्विजेस को अटेम्प्ट करें, आप उससे पहले जो हमने क्लास में डिस्कस किया है, जिन रूल्स को, जिन प्रिंसिपल्स को, पहले उनकी प्रैक्टिस करें। और जो हमारी फर्स्ट क्लास भी थी, फर्स्ट लेक्चर भी था, पहले आप उनको गो थ्रू करें, उसकी प्रैक्टिस करें और उसके बाद उन क्विज़ेस को अटेम्प्ट करें। तो आप विदाउट प्रिपरेशन और विद प्रिपरेशन का जो डिफरेंस है वो आपके सामने होगा, ठीक है। सो पहले आप अच्छी तरह से प्रैक्टिस करें, उन क्विज़ेस को अटेम्प्ट करें और जो भी मैं स्लाइड्स शेयर कर रही हूँ या जो भी सपोर्टिंग मटेरियल शेयर कर रही हूँ, उसको आप एग्जाम से एक दिन पहले के लिए नहीं रखें, बिकॉज इट इज द कोर्स दैट यू कैन नॉट पास विदाउट प्रैक्टिस और विदाउट कंटिन्यूस लर्निंग। ये इस तरह का कोर्स नहीं है कि आप एक दिन पहले पढ़ के पास हो जाए, बिल्कुल नहीं, ठीक है। और ऑलवेज चेक योर क्लास पार्टिसिपेशन, किस तरह से आप क्लास में पार्टिसिपेट करें, कितना पंक्चुअली आप असाइनमेंट्स या डेडलाइन को मीट करें। So all that count. So in next class, inshallah, we will discuss punctuation rule or the remaining grammar rule or sentence structuring. Sentences किस तरह से हम कंपोज कर सकते हैं या अफेक्टिव पैराग्राफ किस तरह से राइट कर सकते हैं, इससे रिलेटेड हम कुछ डिस्कशन होगी हमारी। और जितने भी क्लास में स्टूडेंट्स हैं, आई रिकमेंड यू कि जैसे ही आप इस लेक्चर को अटेंड करें, सो कमेंट सेक्शन में अपने नाम और आईडी ज़रूर शेयर कर दिया करें, सो दैट आई अंडरस्टैंड कि कितने स्टूडेंट्स ने इस लेक्चर को अटेंड कर लिया है, एंड इट विल हेल्प यू टू मार्क योर अटेंडेंस इज वेल, ताकि मेरे पास एक पूरी एक चार्ट शीट जो है वो मेंटेन हो जाए, ताकि उसमें आपकी जो अटेंडेंस है वो भी क्लियरली मार्क हो सके। एंड whoever is the class CR, मैंने आपसे पहले भी कहा था, काइंडली शेयर मी दी कंप्लीट डिटेल्स ऑफ क्लास, लाइक क्लास में कितने स्टूडेंट्स हैं, क्या है उनकी आईडी क्या है, और सारे सारे जितनी भी इंफॉर्मेशन है वो मुझसे शेयर कर दें। और जो स्टूडेंट्स अभी ग्रुप में ऐड नहीं हैं, काइंडली उनको भी ऐड कर लें, सो दैट दे कैन गेट ऑल द इंफॉर्मेशन or all the content. Okay, so I will share all the content in a while, so stay tuned, and our next class will be on scheduled time, and it will be on Thursday 11 a.m. Allah Hafiz.